Now it's time to turn in your web workshop. So the first thing you're going to want to do is check to make sure that you have all the same files as I do, named the same way, no spaces, no capital letters in your file names, and it all should be contained in one single folder. Everyone will have the same folder. It'll be called Web Workshop, no capital letters or spaces. Within it, you will have two different sites, one called mypp, no capital letters or spaces, one called Steps. Each of these separate sites will contain these files and folders. Images and step styles, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 HTML files. Okay, these are all created per the specific instructions, all of which are fully recorded and in the YouTube videos and were demonstrated in class. So you should have these 8 files, and you also should have 5 separate CSS files right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then in images, you should have these 4 images. On the step side, everything should be identical for students. This was not the side where you were to be creative and start doing different things. This should all look the same. So everybody should have that in Steps. If we bounce back out and go to My Personal Portfolio, everyone should have these 4 files, another index file, this one for this site, and then these 3 files with additional information, and one style sheet where you've combined all of the different styles that we asked you to use in My Personal Portfolio into this one sheet, and that's called mypp over here, not styles, okay? And it's in a different folder, mypp styles. You might have 2 or 3 images, depends on what you used over here, so you should have a couple things in there as well. So that's your entire workshop, and your job now that you're completely done is to get this submitted at some point before the due date. So the due date is specified in the Dropbox, and you're going to take this folder and you want to submit the whole thing. So obviously, the way folders work, you're not going to go into the Dropbox and submit every little thing like one by one by one. You need to do what's called zipping or file compression on this so you can actually submit one item. Okay, so on a Macintosh, there is a fairly simple way to do this, okay? And that is specified in Fanshawe Online. Also specified in Fanshawe Online is how to do it on a PC. So quickly I'll jump over there and show you where these instructions are. So if we were in this course and I had my role set to student like you guys, okay, and I go to content right here. How to zip files in Windows, how to zip files on a Mac. So I can't demonstrate it on a Mac for you because I'm not using a Mac, nor do I have one. It's fairly simple. Just go in there and check it out. If you're using a Mac with Windows, you can do it the same way I'm about to do it. So there's a few different ways you can access the function to zip. I think the easiest way is simply to highlight the folder, click on it, right click, and go send to, right here, compress zip folder. When you do that, this entire folder will end up being zipped up as one single item, like that. And this is what you submit to the Dropbox. So inside of it, you have your web workshop, you have all the files and steps, all the files in My Personal Portfolio. You take that and you submit it to the Dropbox. Now this is a very simple process, so I'm not very lenient about students submitting some blank folder and pretending they didn't know how to zip it. I mean, this is pretty mindless. Literally, you sit on the folder, send to, compress zip file, you right click, this thing appears within the same folder where your main folder is, and you simply submit that to the Dropbox. Just so you know, once something is zipped, if I were to go in here and load up, for example, the index, where do I have CSS? Here, this one, for example, classes. That's where I did some different CSS to those 2 little chunks of a table. And the first one looked gray and highlighted, and the second one looked like quite different with a black background, like a little almost neon type of outline. When you load it up in the CSS, or sorry, when you load it up inside of a zip, the CSS doesn't work. You need to be aware of that, okay? This doesn't mean that something's gone wrong with your website. This is totally normal because file compression prevents coding like CSS to work. If I were to go back into the main folder from where I zipped it and load up classes, okay, and I'm going to do this in Explorer, so I'll have to, okay, it would look normal, okay? So all your stuff's still there. It's all still working. It just doesn't work inside the zip, so don't start freaking out. As long as everything worked before you zipped it, zip it up, submit it. So once you have it zipped, you go over here, go to the Dropbox, The first item should be Web Workshop. As I've set it up, submit it by the due date and you're good to go. Okay? Anything later than the due date will have to go in the late Dropbox, which will eventually close by the time you're down below 20%. So the late Dropbox opens up immediately after this Dropbox closes. And that's how you submit your work. Pretty simple. Just zip it up, send it in. Looking forward to seeing it, guys.